Hey, welcome to the Gold Silver Show again. And Alan has a surprise for me. He's put together some of the differences from when I opened goldsilver.com until today. Alan, what have you got?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So this is very exciting, a little bit more light than some of our other videos. So congratulations, by the way, on 20 successful years in business. That's very exciting.
Thanks.
Yeah, so for anyone who has heard about this in a recent video, they know that the company is 20 years old, and we do have a 20th anniversary sale on the website. We've got all kinds of great deals. We have a new logo. Big refresh. So I thought I could take this video, Mike, and show you 5 charts of some different metrics that we look at and how they've changed over the last 20 years.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. The first one, of course, includes gold. It's gold and the S&P 500 for the last 20 years, going back to January 1st, 2005. They're indexed together at 100. And you can see their progress here. And of course, gold is in the lead, averaging 9.4% per year. The S&P only doing 8.2%.
And with the videos that we've done recently, I feel like gold is, Dave Morgan always used of silverinvestor.com. Dave Morgan always used to say that 80% of the move comes in the last 20% of the time, something like that. And I think that we're there right now where there's, it feels like there's an explosion coming. I don't know, but that's what it feels like.
Yes, I agree. An explosion in gold, a crash in the S&P.
Right. Which, we need to revisit this chart again on the 25th anniversary of goldsilver.com and see how these numbers have changed.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Chart number 2, all that currency that's been created and how is it affecting consumer prices. So I have the CPI and I have M2 and I index them together at 100. And the CPI has grown by 2.6% per year, which is, it's higher than 2%, higher than what the Fed wants, but that's a lot. That's a lot to be dealing in consumer prices. And M2 up 6.2% per year. Holy cow.
The only other thing that I'd like to see on this chart is above ground gold stocks. How many ounces of gold? How fast is the gold supply increasing compared to M2? Because that's one of the things that gold seems to reconcile eventually. It's the great equalizer, but it lies in wait. And if you catch one of those events where it's making up for the expansion of the currency supply, there are some great potential gains. And we've been watching that now since, this whole century. We've been watching gold make these gains. But it seems like the best is yet to come.
Yes, I agree. All right, next up, we have the federal surplus or deficit, since it's only been a deficit every year for the last 20 years.
Wow.
And basically the percentage of that deficit divided by the GDP. So all these scary red bars is basically a quantity of how bad our leadership has been at sticking to a budget. And this line here is as a percentage of GDP. So you can see that it was around 3% 20 years ago, and it's up over 6% now. So these deficits have doubled in the last 20 years as a percentage of GDP.
My book was written from 2005, and it was finished in my first book. It was finished in 2007, and then I got to update it like in April of 2008. It came out in July, and then the markets started to crash in August. And but I was writing about the deficits and the national debt in the book, and I predicted that everything was just going to explode. There's an old video back in 2005 of me predicting that Ben Bernanke would be our next Fed head, and that he was going to do massive quantities of printing. But I had no idea how massive it was going to be.
Yeah, I think everyone was surprised. Yeah, and these deficits getting larger and larger.
Yep.
Who knows? Who knows if we've seen the largest yet? Obviously with Doge, the intention is to eliminate these deficits, but we'll see if it actually happens.
Yeah, but what's more important is that percentage scale than the number. And so if so it's budget to GDP. So this can come down by growing GDP. And it's my feeling that what they really need to do is sort of unleash the private sector before they do too much of the cost cutting, even though the cost cutting that they're doing is wasteful spending. Like I've said in the last few videos, it ends up in GDP because they do that wasteful spending, but people do get paid, and then they go and buy gasoline and groceries. And if you cut that too quickly, you can cause a recession, even though it's waste. You can cause a recession. So they need to unleash business so that the GDP is growing at a faster rate than we are doing the cost cutting. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Grow the GDP. It's a lagging indicator of everyone doing well, of prosperity.
Right.
So yeah, okay, chart number 4, similar. This is the accumulated gross federal debt, and then I've divided it by GDP. So you can see the federal debt just growing and growing and growing out of control, really.
Right. And there's this stupid thing they call a debt ceiling. I mean, how ridiculous. Okay, here's the ceiling. You can't go above this. Okay, well, let's raise the ceiling. And you can't go above that. Okay, well, let's raise the ceiling. It's idiotic, the dog and pony shows that they put on every once in a while and raise a bunch of ruckus about it. And but you look at this up at 120%. That is similar to the emergency of World War II. What are we doing in peacetime running these enormous debt to GDPs? It's crazy that our government our politicians are so out of control. And the biggest problem is once they tax you, and they're taxing you, it's all coercion. So, they literally are pointing a gun at your head because if you decide not to pay your tax, they're going to come and get you. If you barricade yourself in your home with some guns, you're going to probably end up dead. But they tax you, and once they've done that, they think that all of this currency is theirs, and they can just spend it wherever they want. So they're spending your hard-earned cash on sending it to Ukraine, and testing out the reaction of dogs to cocaine, and just all of these idiotic things that they're taxing you for. And we're going into this death spiral, basically, because there is a point at which this becomes a trap. And if interest rates go up, it consumes all of the tax dollars, and there's no way to pay this down. The only thing you can try and do is grow GDP faster than the debt. And so I'm very grateful to Elon Musk and the new administration for doing the house cleaning that they are doing and ending all of this waste. But they got to be careful.
Yeah, it's tough work, but somebody's got to do it. We have to do it. It's going to be
right. And this chart shows it. But this is an amazing difference. So 7 trillion.
Yeah, up to 35 trillion. So that's a growth of 5x in the debt.
I remember I started writing the book and I said 7 trillion. And then I had to raise that in 2006 and then raise it again in 2007. And the book came out in 2008, and it was already wrong because it had gone up to like 9 trillion. Well, that's 2008, 9 trillion. So that was so from 7 to 9 during the writing of my book. Our politicians are just crazy. They're insane.
Yeah. And the debt to GDP, by the way, so it was under 60%. That's the right axis. It was under 60%. Now it's about 120. So it has doubled in the last 20 years. It's doubled.
Yeah. Crazy.
So not good. All right, one more. Our final chart here. In the last 20 years, this is the monthly housing payment. So I basically calculated, I took the median price of a home and I took the median rate on a 30-year mortgage, and I assumed a 20% down payment and financing the other 80%. And I said, what is your monthly payment to afford a house for the last 20 years? And the green line is in dollars. And that's the right axis. So I actually did better labeling the axes on this one. The payment was around $1,000, maybe like $1,100. it was fairly steady, fairly level until recently. It shot up like a rocket, and now it's more than double what it was 20 years ago, if you're paying in dollars. However, you divide those by the price of gold, which simulates paying for a house in ounces of gold, and what happened? Houses got cheaper. So originally it was about
cheaper.
A lot cheaper. It was about 2.5 ounces to afford a monthly mortgage, about 2.5 ounces of gold. Now it's down below 1. It's like 0.9 or 0.85, something like that. So
yeah,
a huge decrease in the cost of owning a house if you hold gold.
That is an amazing and unique chart. I am so glad you did that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Happy 20 years.
Thank you. And I do look forward to updates of some of these charts in 5 years. At the 25th anniversary, we'll see how well gold and silver have done. I want to thank you, Alan, and I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.